Hi everyone, welcome to International Business Unit number 9. In unit number 9, we'll be talking about exporting, importing, and counter trade. So pretty much putting products abroad, which is it's a complex process. So let's go a little bit through it. Right? We have to understand that any kind of company can do exporting of products. It is not limited to larger companies. So in this case, we need to understand the capabilities in terms of the number of exports that we're gonna do. Like I said, the commonly small companies feel overwhelmed by the amount of information that they need to consider. But of course, everything is possible, and actually, something um, that small companies benefit when they really go through the small hurdles. Then of course the exporting is a very successful strategy. um, in this case we have to understand that also nowadays small and medium companies have the benefit of contacting the chambers of commerce or accessing information through online, so that makes it much easier. So technology is changing that, and then of course in terms of leading the logistics and communication, that makes a very massive difference. um, so the, the exporting world is changing a lot, mostly because we had that one of the largest trading partners was the US, and really the number of exports that they had was amazing. But this trend is changing. China is doing a tremendous job in this area, and they are really gaining the market in very different ways. So that presents a lot of challenges for many companies. Here, for example, I'm going to give you the example of the industry of ship manufacturing in Korea. It was one of the largest ones, but nowadays it's been beaten by the Chinese market. They have competitive prices, they have good quality, and that represents a problem for the Korean industry, right? That exports this kind of products, and so for many industries, it's the same thing. How can we compete with China when they have very good prices, right? So it's something that we need to consider. So, anyways, so here we need to think a couple things. So in this case, we need to ask whether we have product readiness and company readiness, which is not the same thing. So in this case, do I have, is a product robust enough to be exported? Does it fulfill all the international standards that I will need to put it abroad? And the same thing as operational wise, do I have the capability to really put that product abroad or not? That is something that is very important. So, two things: operationally, can I do it? And the product itself has value for me to put it abroad. That's something we need to consider all the time. And the same thing for services. No, for services is exactly the same thing. Is can am I able to put it abroad? Sometimes operationally I don't have that capability, but what I have is I can create strategic alliances with other companies abroad, and maybe company wise I can give them the know-how, right? It doesn't have to be, yes, it doesn't have to be that I have to produce there, right? So that means also the product is ready somehow, right? But I'm not ready to really open operations because I may not have the capital. So in this case, like I said, we have benefits from exporting. Of course, it will reach a larger market. We learn, we gain benefit by really learning how to produce in different ways, and we enhance our production line. We have to be at the top of our game and be a very competitive company because our operations become more effective, right? So in this case, like I said, we have there's many problems with this because there's too much information to look for, and novice exporters usually fall into these problems that they don't know where to find information, how to look it. But again, like I said, there's chambers of commerce for every single country. So whenever you want to start to do this, you have to approach them, and they will lead you to the right area. In the end, governments are always looking for expanding, exporting, and importing, and then this is a very good approach. So, eh, what are some of that? I mean, like I said, the promise of exporting means we will generate much larger profits. In the end, I mean that's the promise. The problem is that uh, if we don't do sufficient analysis, we may fail. So that means that we don't understand how the market works. We don't understand how the competition might be stronger than us in that market because they already dominated. We don't customize the product to the local needs. The distribution, it could be that maybe we don't have it, or perhaps it's already taken by someone else. We don't execute the campaign properly. Remember, there was a very big and sound product, which is the avocados from Mexico here in Korea. So fantastic product. In the US sells tons. They call it the green gold, but in Korea has failed to make that breakthrough, right? Because in the end, in Korean society, you don't consume avocado. It's not a very common thing, so it just spoils in the supermarket. So uh, here, the avocado industry has failed to really understand how to really promote the usage of avocado and so on. So I think that's something that needs to be fully addressed, right? Very good. So, anyways, a how to be success, information, really understand the market, get impregnated on the needs, get to understand really how it works in depth, and that really makes a difference, no? So a like I said, many firms also fail to consider export opportunities because they lack knowledge of the opportunities available. So companies somehow they don't understand what opportunities are abroad because they never seek for that. They think, exporting is complicated, and I will not consider it because it's difficult. But again, there's many organizations that really promote it. So it is just the initiative that companies have to take to really think about this. And I'm not gonna go into this because it's more the US focused. Okay. So I like I said, sometimes we really don't have to have all the knowledge. There's many service providers that do the things for us. So in this case, for example, we have freight forwarder which puts our product from door to door where we need it. We don't really need to go. I mean, large companies may do all the exporting by themselves, no, but not smaller companies. So mm, there's companies that put our products in other places, that they really make sure that they go through all the regulations, that they do the distribution, etc. So we need to understand that we are not alone. If we're small medium companies, there's many companies that focus precisely on that, of course at the cost, but I mean, exporting is costly. We already agreed to that in previous units. So in this case, when we choose exporting strategy, we have to understand that we need to hire third parties all the time, especially in small medium enterprises, which is the third parties will know the market better, will know the process better, and at least while we go through the learning curve of expansion, then at least we need third parties. Maybe once it's more stable, once we went through the learning curve, then we can get rid of them and start to do things our own, slowly, but we can do it, right? So again, in this case, that's how we should do it. So anyways, here we have Well, I'm not gonna go much to this one. Okay, this one is not, that doesn't matter. So, anyways, a one of the main areas of exporting is a lack of trust. Lack of trust arises from many uncertainties, from simple ones as I would not get paid, to whether my product is going to be distributed in the right way. Okay, so uh, of course there's a lot of mechanisms that help this. No, in this case, will I not get paid? There's already bank methods that secure the payment in some certain way. So, and we're going to talk about that now, right? So, again, we use third parties. Like I said, lack of trust is initially financially. There's many types of lack of trust, but let's go through the financial one. So here, let's talk about firstly the letter of credit. Okay, so the bank works as a third party, which means rather than I pay you and you receive the money and then you give me the documents, we use a party, that the bank as a third party. They hold the documents, they hold the money, and once the things arrive, then you get the documents, I get the money, right? So this is pretty much a letter of credit. So the letter of credit specifies what will be the functions of the bank and how they're going to do it. So we also most export transactions involve a draft. So it's an order written by an exporter instructing an importer or an importer's agent to pay specified amount at a specified time. So in this case also we set when the payments are gonna be done, right? So that is more. This happens. This time drafts mostly happen when we already have a constant supply, right? So in this case already knows the importer and the exporter, they know when they will be paid, when they have to supply, etc. Okay, so here we have the bill of lading, which is issued to the exporter by the common carrier transporting the merchandise. So in this case, it serves three purposes, which is a receipt, a contract, and a document of title. So in this one is mostly it's used by the exporter, and then of course the carrier is the one that deals with all this information, this payment, etc., and all somehow the official documents. On the other hand, also we can use rather than having payment when it's difficult to do the payment, because it involves many areas. No, the payment it's not very straightforward. We can also use the counter trade. So in this case, for example, we can have this like a bartering. So it means rather than paying you with money, you pay me back with products. So here, for example, we have this one. This one is good. Philip Morris shipped cigarettes to Russia, for which it received chemicals that can be used to make fertilizer. So in this case, there was an exchange. Rather than you pay me back in money, maybe in this case it could be because of the fluctuation of money, the institutions that perhaps the bank institutions do not work in certain markets, then we can use this too. Counter trade nowadays is not it's not that common, but it happens mostly in developing countries where banking institutions are not strong, and they really, or perhaps banking institutions are not really suitable for it, or they really don't have this kind of services. So we can use this kind of method, right? So in this case, we have the barter, which is like I said, direct exchange of goods between the two parties. There's no cash. We have the counter purchase, which is a reciprocal buying agreement. That means I buy from you and you buy from me. So it's an exchange of the products. We have the offset. One party agrees to purchase goods and services with a specified percentage of the proceeds of the original sale. So in this case, like I said, maybe it's just a certain percentage, That's all, simple as that. It's not one for one. It's maybe only 80-20 or so. And then we have the switch trading, which occurs when a specialized third-party trading house buys a firm, counter purchase credits, and sells them to another firm. So in this case, also I buy the credit from you, and then I sell it to someone else that perhaps needs your products as well. And lastly, we have the compensation or buybacks. Then this one occurs when a firm bids a plant in a country or supplies technology, equipment, training, or other services to the country. In this case, so we rather than paying with product, we can also pay with services. Okay, or a certain technology that can be used. Okay, a counter trades, of course, is not the most useful. We usually use to pay, well, in credit or in cash, and that's it, no? But this one is, like I said, sometimes we need to understand the background of the financial institutions in the landing country, in the receiving country, because in the end they may not really provide this kind of services. Okay, so in this case, uh, well, counter trade is unattractive because in the end we want money. Yes, we may need some materials or some products, and that's effective in that sense. But in the end, I mean, nowadays we want hard cash to use it for other purposes. No, sometimes we don't may not need the materials, and that's as simple as that. Okay, so anyway, so exporting in the end it has a lot of benefits, but in the end also it's very tricky, it's very troublesome, and it's something that we need to understand. That's all for today. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please let me know.